Welcome back to my virtual campfire, everybody. I'm the RV Wingman, and thank you for joining me today. Hope things are going well. When something goes wrong with your RV, when the water heater won't heat or your slide out won't slide, you've really got two options. You can cancel your plans and try and get back home, or call for help. And that call just might be the most important decision of your entire trip. Now, finding a mobile RV tech, that's easy. But finding a qualified, experienced, and dependable mobile tech, not so much. In this conversation, you're going to meet Rodney Simmons. He is the owner of Blue Moon Mobile RV Repair near Dallas. He did not pay me to be on this program, and this is not a commercial either. Rodney actually just emailed me recently. I did a bit of my own research on him, and so that's how today's video came together. For RVers, I believe this is a rare opportunity to go behind the curtain, so to speak, and hear from someone who's been doing it the right way. And I mean fixing RVs the right way for decades. Before we roll the interview, I want to say with all due respect, if you don't have a trusted mobile tech in your contact list, you are rolling the dice. You might not need one now, but when you do, you'll wish you had. So thank you, Rodney, for joining me today. I appreciate it. And I want to, kind of go into RVs and what you do and so forth. But how did you and I connect? How did you email me, right? And
Yes,
why did you do that?
I've been keeping up with on YouTube for years, and on the RV industry, and I've been biting my tongue just because if you can't say anything nice, right, don't say anything at all. But it's getting to the fever pitch where I just couldn't not say anything anymore about it. And there's a segment of the RV industry that's being, in my opinion, of course, that's just being overlooked. And that goes back to these service departments and the training of RV technicians. It's an incredibly technical field. It takes years, not weeks. Now, weeks, you can familiarize somebody where a water heater is on any RV, but to teach them to troubleshoot and to find out, especially with the newer high-tech water heaters are coming in, the hybrids, the tankless models. So anyway, I started pushing that narrative that and I've been pushing this narrative for 25 years.
Okay, so now you own a shop. You own
Yes.
It's called Blue Moon.
Blue Moon Mobile RV.
Okay, and what area are you in? What do you service? And then, because it sounds like you got a lot of experience and obviously a few opinions. So
Thank you. Yes. Forgive me. I did go sideways. We're in the north side of Dallas in Carrollton. We've been here at this shop since 2003. And bottom line is I left a big dealership because honestly, I didn't agree with the way things were going and the way the customers and the clients were being treated. And I was brought up with that customer service mentality, that was so prevalent in the 80s and 90s. And I really believed it, and I saw the results of it. So I started modeling my company after that, and I was going to give the best mobile service, actually RV service, that you could give to an RV. And I mean, let's face it, 90% of everything that can be done to an RV can be done right where it sits. It doesn't have to go to a shop. And you have huge jobs, roof jobs, things of that nature, swapping engines. That has to go to a shop. But man, a water heater, furnace, roof AC, we throw roof ACs on our back and climb up a ladder. I don't recommend that to anybody, but that's how we do it, and that's how we've done it. We have a forklift now, but out in the field, we still shimmy up a ladder.
So what makes your shop different from, I know you said that the old-fashioned service, but what do the new, I mean, forgive me for saying this, but I have read, and it makes sense. Many RV dealers, not all of them, but many of them consider the people back in the service, the technicians, as throwaways. I mean, they're knuckle draggers. Who need them? We'll just find somebody that's got a certification. Okay, you're hired. But that they're not all the same. It's like not all doctors are the same, even if they went to the same medical school.
Correct. And I just went with something that was proven for thousands of years, and that's the apprenticeship program. I mean, you look back through history, and the best I'll start with blacksmiths and carpenters. Jesus was a carpenter, and somebody taught him how to be a carpenter. So the apprentice program is a proven model that works. And when you have people of high intelligence and short attention span, which is what we have for the best technicians, I would dare to say that they're probably on the edge of ADD or ADHD, and they love the challenge, that particular mindset. They love the challenge. They love to dig into things and find out why they work, not just how, but they want to know why it broke or how it broke. So we take people with that kind of mindset and a great attitude, and we put them in our apprenticeship program. And we've had it all vetted through the Department of Labor, and we've been going on 5 years now. And the technicians that come out of the other end of this after about 3.5 years, they will run circles around these other technicians that, you know, have just been to a school for a couple of weeks. And I'm not disparaging that. That's a particular segment that
I mean, you've got to start somewhere,
yeah,
you know, and
you got to start somewhere.
That's a great start. But just as I've often said, just having that certificate that says, hey, you just passed a test and now you're a technician, doesn't mean you have any experience or wisdom or that, like, don't you think that there's a natural curiosity with the good technicians, kind of like what you were saying, that they got to back up and go, wait a minute, you know, this is connected with that, and that's going to mean, and they can see things that only come from experience and sometimes making mistakes probably. And
yes,
like
absolutely.
It's a practice of fixing these RVs. It's not just a science.
Correct. And to cut down on what we call rechecks or recalls and mistakes, that's where the mentor comes in. And it's right there beside the rookie or the apprentice. It's probably a much better word. He's right there with the apprentice to make sure that he sees those things that the mentor sees. He passes that information, that insight, those mistakes, all the times he stuck his finger in the wrong fan, or when the fan came on, he got a finger, or when he reached behind something, there was a mouse back there. He teaches all these mistakes and successes to the apprentice. And hopefully the apprentice will absorb part of that. We want them to absorb it all, but the reality is, you get them started on a mindset where they can start teaching themselves. And we see that after about 2 years, that they just get out of their way, and man, they are on a tear.
Today's RVs are complex machines. I mean, we want all these amenities that we have in our home. They're extremely complex, but at the same time, I hear stories, and we all hear stories about these brand new RVs that are just falling apart. They're not even put. So let me ask you this question. Isn't an RV really, it's not manufactured. It's a combination of being a manufacturing plant plus an assembly plant, kind of like a kit. When we were kids, you know, you buy a model airplane, you put it together. Correct. You don't make all the different parts. And that's sort of an assembly plant that these manufacturers have.
Right. Well, with the model, you mentioned when we were putting models together as kids, all those pieces came from the same company. So they all work together. And in the RV industry, there are hundreds of companies and manufacturers involved in every RV that comes off the line. And for example, I'll pick Brinkley, because they're one of my favorites these days. They're just assemblers. They are assemblers. And where their magic comes in is the way they think about putting them together to make it based on mistakes that they made in the past.
Yeah, they're beautiful. They do a great job of marketing, and I mean, a lot of people love them. Why should somebody call you if they're in that Dallas area? Why should they call a mobile tech that's really a badass mobile tech like Blue Moon? Versus just take it back to the dealer that you bought it from. And this is for people that don't know any better. They just bought an RV, they got an issue, they're on their first camping trip or whatever, they need some help. I'll just tough it out and go back to the dealer. Why should they contact a Blue Moon instead of taking it back to the dealer that sold it?
Well, if they have that attitude or that perception of their dealership, then they need to find somebody that they're comfortable with. I'm not going to bag on all. There's a lot of great dealers out there that really put a lot of effort into their technicians and a lot of training And they realize that those guys in the back, that is a profit center back there. When times are slow, like right now, what are we down 20-30% across the board on RV sales? So those guys in the back, they'll pay your bills when times get slow, and that's just part of the business. But we're certified. Not only we lean on those certifications just to prove that we know what we're talking about, and that's really, you know, our halls are lined with certifications, and I knew that from the very beginning. That was what was going to make Blue Moon stand out. Well, it was going to be education, and we were going to get with the manufacturer themselves, you know, and get it straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak. And that's what we've done. And we've developed relationships with these manufacturers, you know, Dometic. I could go on and on. Suburban.
So hang on. Do you do warranty work? I mean, you're approved to do warranty work. If I've got a new RV that's under warranty, got an AC problem or a hot water heater issue, it's under warranty, you can do that.
Yes, sir. And that was our foot in the door, because in Texas we have what's called the franchise law.
Yep.
In other words, if you don't sell it, you can't do warranty work on it. So somebody came in with a 2025 Winnebago and they've got roof leaks, we would have to get an affidavit from the dealer to release that RV to us to do it under warranty, so that Winnebago could pay us directly. And that, like I said, it goes to the franchise agreements between the dealers and the manufacturers. However, the crack in that is when you get set up with Dometic, you get set up with Norco, you get set up with Suburban, you get set up with Aquahot, you get set up with all these other manufacturers that are participating in this assembled vehicle. And that was our way to get in. And because the bodies and most of the things like that, that's usually not the problem. A vast majority of what we see are you're going to have appliance failures. And by the time you have any slide out room issues, it's usually 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road. And we're really good with those.
Who's your typical customer, Rodney? I mean, who do you, is it the first time RVer, the beginning RVer? Is it the full timers? We got another service call from one of them. Who's one of them?
You know, I'm going to say half of our clients are disillusioned RVers. Okay. And they could be any, you know, that demographic goes from 18 to 60, 70, 80 years old.
Yeah.
And then, and a lot of that demographic are first timers. And then you get the, you know, and word of mouth, people we've met in the parks over the years, and word spreads. We call it campfire, campfire campaigning, or campfire advertising. And people sit around the campfires. They still do. I had a client tell me this just less than a year ago. He said, "Yeah, we were down in Corpus or somewhere like that around the campfire, and everybody's, you know, complaining about this or hollering about that, but and then somebody will come and say, oh, well, I found this one little shop up, yo, whether it's us or somebody else, that did a fabulous job." And that's campfire advertising, and it works.
Yeah, it does work. I don't know if you knew this, but I'm a former campground owner, and I found, just in my observations of 7 years of meeting people every weekend and being up there a lot, was that many of the issues people have can be resolved. It's like, you forgot to turn the switch on. I mean, it's really, really simple stuff.
Correct.
There's a level of just ignorance. And I'm not saying that in an ugly way. We were all ignorant at one time.
Absolutely.
You know, we go, hey, we'll figure it out. Well, you do, but you can do it the hard way, or you can do it the easy way. Most of us, we want the easy way, but we end up learning the hard way. That's just a fact of life. So when somebody needs somebody to come out, a technician to work on their RV, how do I know that they are qualified? I mean, there's a bunch of them. You go on the internet, you see all these, just call them. Yeah. They all got to be the same, but they're not all the same.
No, right? They're not. And that is, unfortunately, that is what it is. You know, I try to encourage the park managers, the park management. And if it is an independent park, then it's easy. But you have so many of these hedge funds that are buying, you know, hundreds, even thousands of parks across the United States. And so when you talk to somebody and try to inform them, hey, I'm not going to bag on any mobile business in particular, But if you ask for these three things, it'll thin it out for you immediately. Liability insurance, LP management license, right here. And it's amazing how many people do not have that. Without an LP management license, you are not allowed to work on a propane appliance or anything on that system. You can't even open up a furnace legally to work on, just to blow it out and get the mud daubers out of it.
Okay.
So is that liability, and then the liability insurance. I guess the last one would be the what's it called, that pays employees, workers' comp. Yeah. Those three. If you produce somebody comes in to a park and produces those three documents, more than likely that mobile RV service is legit. And they've got, because those documents, just to obtain those documents, it costs you a lot of money. Insurance, workers' comp, even the management license for propane. Our guys have to be trained every 2 years. And then I have to keep that up myself, being the owner of the business.
I have a question sorry to interrupt, but you're talking about technicians and a mentor program and all that. If I was a young person that was mechanically inclined and kind of like fixing stuff, and should I consider the RV industry and maybe a technician as a good career, or go become a diesel mechanic instead? I mean, what are your thoughts on that? If I'm a young person that's looking for something, I can really make a business out of this and really make a nice living and help people.
Right. I encourage men, and I still, on the weekends, if we're out dinner or at a barbecue or anything, I encourage youngins those that are mechanically inclined, of course. You have the academic. My wife is straight up academic. She's not going to ever be a technician, but she's smart as a whip. So, but I'll encourage those youngins, skip the trade school. Most dealerships will take you from the bottom to the top if you let them, but it takes time. And a great example is ours. Our program, we had one individual finish the program in 3.5 years. Now he's a master mentor, and he's from Australia. He had no idea what caravans were. He called them caravans and thought that was where poor people lived when he came from Australia. And then he saw what we had. He went, "Oh my God, that's not at all what I had in mind." And he jumped in it with both feet and loved it. And now he's one of our master mentors. But I do encourage them. Even when I get somebody out of a trade school here at our business, they're going to start at the bottom. They're going to be allowed to empty the trash on their own, and that's about where it ends. Everything that they do, if they're learning to use a saw or picking up a saw and plugging it in, they're being, a mentor is right there to show them, the safety. And all this is not taught, I don't think, in the trade schools, but we take it from the bottom up. Regardless of what you come in with, credentials or not, you're going to have to prove it.
In this downturn in the RV industry, I call it a depression. We're not in a recession in the RV. It's a depression for many dealers. Is it true that some of the highest paid people, some of those technicians in the back of some dealerships, have been let go because they just can't afford to keep them, and they are letting less qualified techs try to fix things because it saves the dealership money, and hopefully they'll do a good enough job that the customer won't come back? Is there any truth to that?
Not from my perspective. I don't see that. Most of your high-end technicians, the guys who are making $35 to $50 an hour, they're on commission. Mm-hmm. So they're actually some of your cheapest. If they produce the work for $50, you got to give them $50 an hour. If you're charging $200 an hour, the dealership's keeping $150. You know what I mean? Yeah. And the tech is getting $50. So the higher end.
Hang on. Why do we hear all these stories? And I probably hear, well, I don't know, you may hear more than me, but the people that take their RV in for service, for a problem to get fixed, and either it's not fixed right or they create a new problem while trying to fix the old problem. Do they not have the right technicians? Are they just going too fast? Is the expectation level of the customer too high? Why is that? Because I hear these stories and they sound very real.
Well, I couldn't I don't think that there's one answer to that question. We get, and this blows my mind. We had a customer come in with a brand new air conditioner that they had put in last week in another state. So they couldn't, they're headed west, whatever they were doing. And the air conditioner was installed. It was never turned on and tested. Never. And we thought, well, no wonder it doesn't work. We pulled the ceiling assembly down. It wasn't even plugged in or hooked up. It was simply set on the roof, bolted up, and then filter assembly was put on. And we've had other air conditioners that were, they'll run for 30 minutes and then trip the breaker. And we open up, especially on the additional air conditioners that are added that didn't come from the factory. Yeah. And we found they didn't even have any ventilation. There's nowhere for the air to go.
How does that happen? Do they not pay attention in technical school? Are they stupid?
Zero quality control is all I can guess. Really, Alan, the whole secret to my success. Are y'all ready for this? I read the instructions. My wife has been absolutely amazed at that. And that is the secret to my success. I read the instructions, and especially if it's a new product or, say, example, a new type of product and they've made some modifications on it. I'm going to read the instructions first and see what the manufacturer has to say about it. And then I'll give them a call. And that really is pretty much the secret to our success. We test everything we do. It behooves me. I don't know why others don't do that, Alan.
I'll tell you why. And the younger, the worse it gets. It's because of these damn things. And instead of reading, it's like, what? I'll just and they want an answer. When I had my campground, we had a website and a little thing they signed or released when they came in. And I generally say, and I really believe this, most people, they don't read, they don't listen, and they don't think.
Correct.
But they think they know everything until it goes south. And if they slow down, old school, like Rodney at Blue Moon, and you just read, take a few minutes, you might learn something, and you only have to do it once then.
Right. I'm sure some of my newer techs are tired of, as a saying, I say to them all the time, don't get mad at me for making you think. Yeah. And I think it was Socrates or somebody like that. I call it the Socratic method. Whether it is or not, that's what I call it. And I'll ask them questions. When they ask me a question, I answer them with a question. And I'll, for example, look at what's in front of you. Just sit there and look at it for a second. Don't hurt your brain. Let your eyes see what's in front of you. Use your senses. And then all of a sudden, sometimes I see the light bulb come on and they go like, oh, there's a burned wire right here. I'm like, exactly. What does that burned wire go to? Yada, yada. And then we start, and I start them on that process. And that's what you have to do. It's a stair step whenever you're troubleshooting anything on an RV.
Wasn't there some book somewhere that said, I don't know, it was like teach a man to fish and he'll or give a man a fish and he'll eat for a day, and then teach a man to fish and they'll be able to eat for a long time. And that it's a principle that worked thousands of years ago. It will continue to work. And I know that you've got to have a jillion stories, and I want to wrap this up. Would you join me again and tell me some of I'd like to talk about new RVs and how the quality has changed, or maybe it hasn't. I don't want to do that right now, but can we make a kind of a promise that we'll reconnect here soon?
I would love to. I want to get the information. You're educating consumers on your side. That information needs to get out there, and you can't stop. My end, the apprentice model, I think, is what makes the best technician. And I've been doing this a long time, and I've tried the other things, and they just don't work like this apprentice model does.
So you're going to continue to do this for a long time?
I will. Yeah, I have no intention of retiring. I would like to go on a 3-month vacation, but man, I'm wired. I'm probably going to be late to my funeral.
You got too many things to do to attend your funeral.
I love it. It keeps me young, man. My mom's 85 years old and she is blowing and going, man. You have to track her down.
Well, I am so glad. Thank you for emailing me and this introduction. And folks, Rodney and I have never spoken before, but I can tell you're a no BS guy, and your standards are very high. You seem really, and I have to admire that, because you come across a real nice guy, but I'll guarantee you, working for you is like there's only one way to do it,
Yep.
and it's the right way.
Yes, sir.
So what do you think? To me, Rodney isn't just a guy who knows how to fix things. He's an example of something this industry desperately needs more of: humility, experience, attention to detail, and common sense. Of course, there are plenty of mobile techs out there with certifications, right? There are. But a certification does not always mean competence. And experience, that's something that's really hard to fake. If you own an RV, I hope that you'll take this as a friendly Wingman wake-up call. Add a highly qualified mobile tech to your contact list of must-haves right there, along with your updated insurance and roadside assistance. They're all important because when you're in a bind, you want someone who's going to show up, who knows what they're doing, and who will treat you right. For anyone who thinks I'm being paid for today's video, I am not by Rodney, Blue Moon, or anyone else. I will say that if you're in or near the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex area and you'd like to contact Blue Moon, you'll find a link to them down below in the description, or just scan the QR code you see right here on the screen. Thank you so much for being with me today. I hope that you learned something, or at least it gave you some things to think about. I'm Alan Warren, the RV Wingman, watching out for you. Y'all be safe, have fun, play nice, and don't leave your good manners at home. Adios for now.